If every boast you ever made could become reality as long as you paid tax on it, how big a boast would you dare to make? I was in the office, casually bragging in front of my coworkers that I owned a luxury apartment inside Jiangqing's Third Ring Road. At that exact moment, a mechanical voice suddenly sounded inside my head. Boast detected from host. Boast tax system activated. The next second, a translucent blue panel appeared before my eyes. The host claims to own a fully furnished, 3-bedroom residence measuring 158 square meters inside Jiangqing's Third Ring Road. To make this claim a reality, a tax payment of 6,000 rupees is required. I stared at the blue panel. 6,000 rupees, that was the last of the money in my bank account. Every cent I had left in the world. Should I risk it? If this was a scam, I would be completely broke. But what if it was real? My breathing grew faster. The anger and despair weighing on my chest gradually transformed into an almost reckless impulse. My coworker Jiang Wei saw me sitting there in a daze and kept mocking me. I'm calling it right now. If you can really afford a place in Ocean Bay, I'll livestream myself eating a keyboard in front of the entire company. How about it? I roared like a beast inside my head and pressed the option on the panel. Ding! A payment confirmation popped up on my phone. Immediately afterward, I received a text from the bank. Your account ending in 9526 has paid 6,000 rupees. Current balance, 152.34 rupees. The money had actually been taken. For a moment, my heart seemed to stop. Then the cold mechanical voice sounded again. Tax payment successful. Jiang Wei's shrill laughter still echoed through the office. This guy must have lost his mind. He's gotten so wrapped up in his own fantasy that he can't find his way out. I stared at my phone without blinking, my heart pounding as I waited for the system's next move. The next second, the phone in my pocket rang. The caller ID showed an unfamiliar number. When I answered, a man's voice came over the line. Am I speaking with Mr. Jiang Yu? I'm with City Express Delivery. I have an important document for you, and I've arrived downstairs at your office building. A document? I didn't order anything. I denied it instinctively, but I still rose from my chair. Maybe the company had sent me something. When I walked out of the building, a courier in a blue uniform spotted me and immediately came over. Mr. Jiang Yu, this document is for you. Please sign here. Still confused, I signed for it. When I pressed the envelope with my fingers, I felt several hard objects inside. I tore it open, and several things fell out. A dark red, hard-bound certificate, a set of expensive-looking, polished keys, and several access cards. My eyes locked on the red certificate. The gold-stamped words on its cover nearly burned my eyes. Real estate ownership certificate. I flipped it open, my fingers trembling with nerves. Owner, Jiang Yu. Ownership status, sole ownership. Address, Apartment 2801. Unit 2, Building 7, Ocean Bay, Third Ring Road, Jiangcheng. Floor area, 158 square meters. Every word struck my heart like a hammer. It was real. It was completely real. For only 6,000 rupees, I had acquired a luxury apartment worth more than 20 million. Volcanic joy erupted inside me, and my entire body shook with excitement. But once the first rush of happiness passed, a painfully practical problem came crashing down on me like a bucket of ice water. I pulled out my phone, opened a ride-hailing app and entered Ocean Bay as my destination. The fare was 88 rupees, while my bank balance was only 152.34. The smile vanished from my face. I was a wealthy man who owned a luxury home worth tens of millions, yet I could barely afford a ride to my own property. I had to find a way to make money immediately. I suddenly thought of the tiny room I was currently renting. My landlord was still holding my prepaid rent and security deposit. I opened a rental app and searched for units in Ocean Bay with the same layout. Even the cheapest one rented for 25,000 rupees a month, 300,000 a year. An amount I had never once dared to imagine. A bold idea sprang into my mind. I listed my unit at 30,000 rupees a month, added nighttime photos of Ocean Bay, and wrote in the description, Premium Riverview Residence at Ocean Bay, 158 square meters, brand new furniture and appliances, serious long-term tenants only. Once everything was posted, I let out a breath and collapsed back into my chair. Would anyone really rent it for 30,000 rupees a month? Just then, my phone began vibrating violently. Another unfamiliar number. I assumed it was a spam call and nearly declined it. but for some reason, I answered. A gentle, professional female voice came over the line. Hello, are you the landlord of apartment 2801 at Ocean Bay? My heart jumped. How had someone called so quickly? The listing had been live for less than 2 minutes. Yes, that's me. Hello, I just saw your apartment on the app. Could we come and view it right now? Right now? It's already 11 at night. Isn't that a little late? My daughter is about to enroll in school, and we urgently need a place. If the apartment is suitable, we can sign the lease immediately. The woman sounded both anxious and decisive. The words "sign the lease immediately" sent heat rushing through my veins. I was about to agree when reason stopped me. If I sounded too eager, she might try to bargain down the rent. More importantly, I had never even seen the apartment myself. What would I do if she asked about details I couldn't answer? I quickly came up with a solution. Ma'am, I'm not actually the owner. The apartment belongs to a friend of mine. He's gone abroad and asked me to rent it out on his behalf. I need to go pick up the keys from him first, which may take an hour. Can you wait? The lie instantly put me in a stronger position while giving me a reasonable excuse for not knowing every detail about the apartment. The other end of the line fell silent for several seconds. All right, we'll meet downstairs at Ocean Bay in 1 hour. As soon as the call ended, I jumped up, stuffed the ownership certificate, keys, and access cards into my bag, and raced out the door. An hour later, I stood panting at the entrance to Ocean Bay. Even at midnight, the residential complex was brilliantly lit. Alert security guards stood at their posts, and everything around me radiated money and prestige. 2 women were waiting under a street lamp. One was in her 40s or 50s and dressed in obviously expensive clothes. The other was a girl of 17 or 18 in a simple t-shirt and jeans. Looking somewhat impatient, I walked over to greet them. Hello, are you Ms. Wong? I'm Jiamyu. My friend has given me the keys. Let's go upstairs. Ms. Wong wasted no time on small talk and walked inside with her daughter. The instant the apartment door opened, the scent of expensive fragrance and luxury swept over us. Motion sensor lights came on one after another, revealing a spacious, bright living room. Through the enormous floor-to-ceiling windows, we could see the glittering city skyline and the river at night. The interior was exquisite, and every piece of furniture and every appliance was brand new and flawless. Mom, what do you think? The girl asked. Not bad. Ms. Wong got straight to the point. We'll take it for 1 year. I'll pay the entire year's rent and the security deposit right now. All at once. I was so excited I could barely breathe. What followed happened with unbelievable speed. I printed the lease, and Ms. Wong picked up a pen and signed her name. The moment I finished signing, she opened her mobile banking app. Done. Check your account. Almost simultaneously, my phone vibrated. Your account ending in 9526 has received 370.000 rupees. Current balance, 370.152.34 rupees. 370,000 rupees. I struggled to remain calm, removed the keys and access cards from the envelope, and slid them across to Ms. Wong. The next morning, I climbed out of bed and decided to treat myself to the most extravagant breakfast I had eaten in 3 years. Boss, 1 cup of soy milk, 2 youtiao, and 1 boiled egg. I had barely sat down when Jiang Wei's grating voice sounded behind me. Well, if it isn't Mr. Jiang. What happened? Couldn't get used to your Ocean Bay mansion. So you came back to eat breakfast with poor people like us? He sat across from me and slapped his phone onto the table. See this? The newest model. Cost more than 10,000 rupees. Unlike you, I can actually afford next month's rent. Want me to lend you a little? I couldn't be bothered to answer. I picked up a youtiao, dipped it into my soy milk, and ate it unhurriedly. That only encouraged him. Oh, right. Mr. Jiang owns a luxury home. So of course he doesn't pay rent. Silly me. I almost forgot. People eating nearby turned to look at us and whispered among themselves. I wiped my mouth with a napkin. Collecting rent really is a hassle. I rented the apartment out yesterday and collected the full year's rent plus the deposit in advance. 370.000 rupees altogether. Now I can't decide how to spend it. I turned my phone toward Jiang Wei, placing the bright account balance directly in front of his eyes. He shot to his feet like a cat whose tail had been stepped on. Fake! You edited that screenshot. How could a broke loser like you have that much money? Edited it? I wasn't angry at all. Right in front of him, I opened my transaction history. The top entry clearly read, incoming transfer, 370.000 rupees. Time: October 27th, 12:32 a.m. Note: rent and security deposit for apartment 2801. Zone A, Ocean Bay. Jiangwei's face went from red to yellow, then from yellow to green. The murmurs around us grew louder. My God. 370.000. That guy just called him a broke loser. He completely humiliated himself. Back at my rented room, I leaned against the door, still savoring the victory. 370,000 rupees was enough to silence a small-time bully like Jiang Weida, but what about 37 million? Or 300 million? An ambition I had never known before began growing inside me. I closed my eyes and focused inward. System. I want to make an even bigger boast. What is an apartment at Ocean Bay? I own an old traditional courtyard house in downtown Jiangcheng. The blue panel appeared at once. This time, however, its message made me freeze. Warning. Host level too low. Target exceeds realizable range. I stared at the blue words and ordered silently. System. Explain. Host's current level. LV1. Novice braggart. At LV1, the host may pay no more than 10.000 rupees in boast tax per day. Only 10,000 a day? My spirits sank. Then if a boast requires 9.999 rupees in tax, it can still become real? Theoretically. Yes. However, the host must pay the corresponding tax for every target. Any target may be realized as long as the tax due does not exceed 10.000 rupees and payment is completed. The number boomed through my mind. I was deeply disappointed. This was nothing like the unlimited power I had imagined. I sat on the edge of my bed and forced myself to calm down. If I was only LV1 now, then the daily tax ceiling would surely rise after I leveled up. System. How do I level up? The system will automatically upgrade to LV2 once the host's verifiable personal assets reach 10 million rupees. 10 million. The number reignited my determination. The downtown courtyard house was out of reach for now. The most important thing was to use my daily LV1 tax allowance of 10.000 rupees to turn my 370.000 in starting capital into 10 million as quickly as possible. Making money generate more money was the fastest path. My thoughts became completely clear, and I began planning in earnest. Just then, my phone vibrated. It was my best friend, Lin Mingkai. He sounded exhausted and hopeless. I'm at that old barbecue place behind our university. Do you have time? Can you come have a few drinks with me? I heard something wrong in his voice and immediately stood. Send me the location. I'm coming now. The old barbecue restaurant had been open for 10 years and was as noisy as ever. I found Lin Mingkai in a corner. Several empty beer bottles stood on the table, while the food in front of him was almost untouched. He simply poured alcohol into his mouth mechanically, staring blankly at nothing. What happened to you? I asked, pulling out the chair opposite him. Lost my job. That's it. He took another long drink. Your company fired you. They said I wasn't efficient enough. What else? I filled his glass. Lin Mingkai paused, then slammed his beer bottle on the table. Xiaoya broke up with me. Why? My heart sank. Xiaoya had been his girlfriend since their freshman year in college. Everyone had considered them the perfect couple. Why do you think? Lin Mingkai gave a bitter laugh. 300,000 for the down payment, 320.000 as the bride price, plus 18.000 for the traditional 3-piece gold jewelry set. Added up. How much? 638,000. I answered calmly. Right. 638,000. He suddenly laughed. Her mother asked whether I could produce it. I said, Auntie, I've only been working for 2 years. Could you give me a little more time? Do you know what she said? He slapped the table. She said, my daughter can wait, but her youth can't. If you have no money, don't talk about love. What about Xiaoya? What did she say? The smile disappeared from his face, leaving only exhaustion. She sent me 3 words. I am sorry. Then she blocked me everywhere. Anger surged through my chest as I looked at my best friend. It's only money. I'll lend it to you. Lin Mingkai froze, then waved a hand. Forget it, brother. I appreciate the thought. Just drink with me tonight. Tomorrow I'll start looking for another job. I didn't explain further. I knew that anything I said in that moment would sound like drunken talk to him. After several rounds, Lin Mingkai grew more talkative. First he complained about work, then cursed his greedy would-be mother-in-law, and finally turned all his anger against himself. It's all my fault. I'm useless. If I had money, Would her mother dare talk to me that way? Would Xiaoya leave me? He gripped his hair in anguish. This world was made for rich people. I listened in silence. 370,000 was enough to shut Jiang Wei up. But it wasn't nearly enough to help Lin Mingkai fight the cruelty of reality. It could not even cover the down payment on an apartment. Just then, the drunken Lin Mingkai pointed at the next table. Look over there. I followed his finger. 2 young women sat there. One showed only her profile. Yet she was beautiful enough to make every light in the restaurant seem dim. Beautiful, isn't she? Lin Mingkai laughed wildly. I bet if you walked up to a woman like that with 1,000,000 rupees, she wouldn't even blink. Their world and ours are completely different. His words were filled with the pain and bitterness of someone reality had ground beneath its heel. I said nothing. In the past, I might have agreed. But now I had 370,000 rupees in my bank account and a system in my head that could turn lies into reality. My entire view of the world had changed. Why aren't you saying anything? Lin Mingkai nudged me. Truth hurt? You think nobodies like us don't even have the right to talk to women like that? Not necessarily, I said suddenly. Not necessarily? He looked as if he had heard the funniest joke in the world. Then go. If you can really get her WeChat. Tonight's meal is on me. I watched that quiet silhouette, rose from my seat, and straightened my jacket. Forget buying dinner. Just watch. Lin Mingkai obviously hadn't expected me to actually go. He reached out to stop me, but I was already walking away. The woman's friend noticed me first. She looked up warily as I stopped beside their table, my tall shadow falling across them. Hello. The woman finally reacted and slowly raised her head. Do you need something? Nothing in particular. I set my beer glass on their table, pulled out an empty chair, and sat down. My name is Jiang Yu. I just thought it seemed a little boring for 2 beautiful women to sit so quietly in such a lively place. In the distance, Lin Mingkai covered his face, too embarrassed to keep watching. The woman looked me up and down, then turned away and resumed shelling peanuts as though I were nothing more than a passing breeze. I cleared my throat and spoke with complete sincerity. I just think it's rare to meet someone who makes your heart beat faster. I own 4 apartments inside Jiangqing's 5th Ring Road. They're not especially large, about 400 square meters combined. But this is the first time I've felt that my modest wealth might not be enough to impress a woman. I watched her face, expecting surprise, envy, or at least some emotion. Nothing happened. The woman did stop shelling her peanut. However, are 4 apartments supposed to be a lot? Her friend couldn't hold back a laugh. For a moment, my mind went blank. Not really, but doesn't buying property prove a person's judgment and ability? Does it buy him manners? The woman cut in. I've met plenty of men who flaunt their homes to get close to women, but you're the first one I've met who was this stupid. A tacky nouveau riche. She barely moved her lips on those last words. Her tone wasn't harsh, yet they hurt more than any shouted insult. People at several nearby tables turned to watch, amusement on their faces. Blood rushed to my head. Not because she had rejected me, but because the thing I was proudest of was worth no more than garbage in her eyes. The humiliation hurt worse than a beating. I stood without a word, picked up my beer, and returned to my table. Are you okay? Lin Mingkai asked cautiously. I told you, we don't live in the same world as women like that. A stupid nouveau riche. I suddenly raised my hand. Waiter. A server in a red vest hurried over. What else can I get you? Sir? I picked up the menu, scanned it quickly, and stopped at 1 dish. Grilled lamb testicles. The largest order you've got. Keep them a little tender, and add plenty of cumin and chili. You got it. The waiter had just written it down and was about to leave when I stopped him again. I pulled out a 100-rupee note and pressed it into his hand. When they're ready, deliver them directly to that table. Tell those 2 beautiful ladies that the handsome gentleman beside them bought the dish to help them cool off. The waiter stared for a few seconds, then understood and grinned. Got it. Sir, leave it to me. 15 minutes later, he carried a large plate straight to the 2 women. Ladies, the handsome gentleman at the next table ordered this for you. On the plate, more than a dozen round, blackened pieces of meat glistened with oil on bamboo skewers, buried beneath red chili powder and yellow cumin. The woman's face went white. She shot to her feet and turned to glare at me. I raised my beer in a distant toast, a provocative smile on my face. You creep. Just you wait. With that, she seized her friend's hand and stormed out of the restaurant. Early the next morning, I had just reached the entrance to my office when a brand new BMW 3 Series braked hard in front of the crowd. The window rolled down. Ju-young removed his sunglasses and leaned out. Well, if it isn't Jiang-yu, coming into the office on your day off? How hard-working. He was the project leader in our department, and his two greatest talents were stealing other people's credit and flattering his superiors. Ju-young climbed out and deliberately spun his car key around one finger. Just picked up this 325i M Sport package. Almost 5 million rupees out the door. What can I say? I'm so busy with work that I'd be embarrassed to meet clients without a decent car. I can't be like some people, still squeezing into subways and cabs every day. My coworkers all looked at me, waiting for a show. Their gazes pricked my skin like needles. I curled my lip into a fake smile. What can I do? I wasn't born lucky like team leader Zhu, with good fortune and a good father. That shut him up for a moment. He waved impatiently. All right, enough with the jealousy. Since I feel sorry for you, and I'm heading to the summit too, I'll give you a ride. I took a deep breath, suppressed my irritation, and reached for the front passenger door. Hey, what do you think you're doing? Ju-young demanded. That seat is for my bag. It contains important documents. He opened the door, placed a leather bag on the front seat, shut it again, and jerked his chin toward the back. You sit in the rear. The area around us instantly fell silent. My coworkers stopped whispering and stared. There were only two reasons to make a colleague sit in the back. Either the passenger was a boss, or the person driving was a chauffeur. Ju-young was deliberately humiliating me in public. He folded his arms and looked down at me. What? The back seat isn't good enough? I'm already doing you a favor by taking you. Don't forget your place. If you don't want the ride, call a cab. Just don't embarrass the boss by showing up late. I slowly withdrew my hand. Having no money was the greatest sin. Having money and not knowing how to use it was an even greater one. A cold hatred rose from deep inside me. I didn't want to hit him. I wanted to completely destroy that ugly expression and his cheap sense of superiority. Team leader Zhu, you should go on without me. Your car is too small. I wouldn't be comfortable. And there isn't enough legroom. The color is boring, too. And the interior feels cheap. There's no real design to it. His face turned bright red. What nonsense are you talking about? Have you ever even seen a real car? Do you know what this is? A BMW, I said calmly. Ride-hailing drivers use them all over the city. I only drive Porsches. Without looking at him again, I turned and walked away. His furious shout came from behind me. Stop right there. If you get to the summit before I do today, I'll write my name backward. I entered a quiet alley, leaned against the cold wall, and looked at the blue panel that appeared before me. Ding! Boast detected from host. Analyzing host's current situation. Optimal realization target. Ownership of a Porsche automobile. Please select a model for valuation and tax calculation. The panel listed Porsche's official models. 718, 911, Panamera, Macan, Cayenne. A sports car would attract too much attention and wasn't practical for commuting. The Panamera seemed overly formal. My gaze finally stopped on the Cayenne. The SUV was large, imposing, and expensive. More importantly, driving a Cayenne to work would demonstrate my strength without looking excessively flashy. It was perfect. Target locked. Fully equipped Porsche Cayenne. Estimated value, 10 million rupees. Calculating Boast tax. The progress bar crept forward, and my heart beat faster with it. This was a car worth 10 million rupees. How much tax would I owe? 10,000? 20,000? It had better not exceed 10,000, or it would go beyond my daily limit. At last, the calculation ended. Boast tax due, 4.000 rupees. 4,000. My breath caught. I had more than enough in my bank account. Only 4,000 rupees to silence every one of them. Was it worth it? There might not be a better deal anywhere in the world. The headache from last night's drinking had not yet faded, but Zhu-young's ridicule and Yao Xiling's contemptuous eyes replayed in my mind like scenes from a movie, each one stabbing my heart like a knife. If I swallowed this humiliation today, how could I ever hold my head up at work again? Zhu-young would only become more brazen, trample me harder, label me a failure, and turn me into the entire office's joke. I could not endure it anymore. I gritted my teeth and pressed my finger against the confirmation button. A new notice appeared. System reminder. Current user level is LV1. Daily tax limit, 10.000 rupees. You may pay the current tax of 4.000 rupees. Confirm? Confirm. The payment process began. The next second, my phone vibrated. Your account ending in 6688 has been debited 4.000 rupees. It worked. Another line appeared on the panel, converting boast into reality. Please wait. How long would it take? An hour? A day? A week? The summit was about to begin. If the car came too late, everything would be pointless. Just then, the phone in my pocket began vibrating violently. Another unknown number. Who could be calling now? I answered. Hello? Hello? Am I speaking with Mr. Jiang Yu? The caller's tone was extremely respectful. Yes. Who is this? Mr. Jiang. My name is Wang Hao, and I'm calling from the Jinba Road Porsche Center. The Porsche Center? My heart accelerated. It had happened so quickly. That's right, Mr. Jiang. The black Porsche Cayenne you ordered is ready, and every formality has been completed. You may come pick it up whenever you wish. My mind went blank. The order, title, insurance, temporary license plate. Everything had somehow been prepared in this tiny span of time. It felt like a dream. Hello, Mr. Jiang. Are you still there? Wang Hao asked after receiving no response. I'm here. I cleared my throat and fought down my excitement. I'll come now. Where will you be departing from? And approximately how long will it take? Jincheng Tower. About 10 minutes. Very good. We'll be waiting for you. The call ended, and the system panel vanished with it. It was all real. For only 4.000 rupees, I had acquired a Porsche worth 10 million. Jiang's humiliation and Yao Xiling's disdain suddenly seemed insignificant. I straightened my back, smoothed my slightly wrinkled shirt, and strode away. Cool air washed over me the moment I entered the Porsche Center. Before I could say a word, Wang Hao came hurrying over with a broad smile. Mr. Jiang, you've arrived. Without wasting time, he gestured for me to follow him into the display area. A fierce black beast waited there. The Porsche Cayenne gleamed beneath the lights, radiating an overwhelming presence. Wang Hao quickly opened the door for me, then presented a folder with both hands. Mr. Jiang, everything is ready. This is your vehicle. I opened the folder. My name was printed clearly on the registration certificate. It was real. I declined Wang Hao's offer to explain the vehicle's features and climbed directly behind the wheel. With a powerful roar from the engine, the massive black SUV rolled out of the showroom. Only 10 minutes later, I was back outside the office building. Jiang stood beside his black BMW 3 Series, smoking a cigarette and basking in my coworker's flattery. I did not slow down. I drove straight toward his BMW. The engine's roar drowned out every other sound, sending the crowd scrambling backward. Everyone held their breath as the black Cayenne stopped with breathtaking force beside Jiang's car, parked side by side. The difference was obvious. Next to the Cayenne, Jiang's BMW looked like a toy. The door opened. I stepped out and shut it behind me as casually as if I had just returned from buying groceries. The entire plaza, however, fell into deathly silence. Everyone looked at the car, then at me, as though their minds had shut down at the same time. The cigarette fell from Jiang's mouth. His smug expression disappeared completely. Someone beside him stammered, "Jay Jiangyu, is this car yours?" Before I could answer, Jiang burst out laughing. "Have you all lost your minds? Him?" He rushed over and swept a contemptuous glance across the car. "All right, Jiangyu, you really went all out just to compete with me. You actually spent an entire month's salary renting this thing." Rented? At that, my coworkers began looking at me strangely and laughing about how far I had gone to put on a show. Without reacting, I pulled the registration papers from my pocket and slapped them down on the hood. "Read it yourself." Jiang picked them up suspiciously and opened the first page. The instant he saw the owner's name, Jiang Yudata's face turned white. "Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. It's fake. These documents are forged. Where did you get counterfeit papers?" My coworkers crowded around. Every one of them stared in shock. "Make, Porsche, owner, Jiang Yu, registration date, today." Jiang was still shouting when I pressed the button on the key. Beep! The Cayenne's lights flashed. The sound was like a sharp slap across Jiang's face, wiping away everyone else's doubts as well. His legs began to shake, and the registration papers slipped from his hand. His lips trembled, but he could not produce another word. Silence swallowed the crowd. Everyone stared at me. The mocking looks from earlier had turned into shock, envy, and disbelief. I did not spare Jiang another glance. I bent down, retrieved my papers, walked through the crowd, and entered the building. The conference hall was dim. I found a seat in the back and looked toward the stage. Under the spotlight, a woman slowly turned around. The moment I saw her face, my eyes widened. It was the woman I had tried to flirt with at the barbecue restaurant the night before. Today, unbelievably, she was the keynote speaker at the summit. She seemed to sense my presence. Her eyes moved in my direction and briefly met mine across the room. Not a ripple of emotion crossed them. She calmly looked away. My breath stopped for half a second. The world was truly small. A woman I had met at a roadside barbecue place last night now stood on the stage of an elite professional forum as an expert, while I was merely an ordinary member of the audience. Yao Zhiling's gaze had rested on my face for only a second before shifting away with complete indifference. No surprise. No anger, not even the faintest emotion. Being ignored so thoroughly hurt worse than being insulted to my face. I leaned back, folded my arms, and stared at the woman on stage. She wore a perfectly tailored black dress. Her hair swept neatly back, with only light makeup on her face. She looked every inch the sharp, capable professional. She could not have been more different from the Yao Zhiling in a white t-shirt at a grimy barbecue restaurant, whose face had gone pale with fury at a plate of grilled lamb testicles. The seminar officially began. Yao Zhiling spoke with a laser pointer in hand. Complex technical terms sounded simple and accessible when she explained them, using the charts on her slides. She broke down tangled business problems with perfect clarity. The audience listened in total silence. In truth, I didn't understand any of it. My company had forced me to attend in the first place. Still, I did not lose focus. All my attention remained fixed on Yao Zhiling. I wanted to find some trace in her face that proved the woman I had met last night was not her real self. But I failed. On stage, Yao Zhiling was composed and commanding, like a queen in complete control. After the hour-long presentation came the question period. At first, no one raised a hand. My team leader, Zhu Yong, looked down at his phone with that same leering expression he always wore while evaluating an attractive woman. Then I raised my hand. The movement was small, yet it sent a current through the room. Every eye turned toward me. Zhu Yong froze, then smiled as though waiting to watch me make a fool of myself. Yao Zhiling saw me too. After a brief pause, she nodded with perfect formality. "The gentleman over there, please ask your question." I stood. My height drew the entire room's attention. "Ms. Yao, hello. I'd like to ask a broader question. The technology you presented sounds impressive, but for small companies already fighting for survival, won't such high costs become another burden? Should technology ultimately benefit everyone, or become a wall that a privileged few can build wherever they please?" The question dropped into the hall like a bomb. For several seconds, the room was completely still. It was not merely a technical question. It was a direct challenge to her commercial strategy. The smile disappeared from Zhu Yong's face. His stunned expression made it obvious that he had never expected someone who normally seemed as lazy and careless as I did to ask such a pointed question. Yao Zhiling looked directly at me. This time, she did not look away. "Your question is a good one, but it also demonstrates that your understanding of technology costs is quite limited." Her words sounded polished and courteous, yet every syllable had a thorn. She began with cloud computing, moved to the mass production of small components, and ended with an example. It is no different from electricity. You do not need to build your own power plant simply to turn on a light. You only need to connect to the public grid. She paused, then delivered the final blow in front of hundreds of people. "If you still have questions about these basic concepts, I recommend that you first read the relevant materials on our company's official website. Thank you." Then she turned directly to the moderator. "Our time is up. That concludes my presentation." From beginning to end, she gave me no chance to explain or ask a follow-up. A snicker came from behind me. I did not need to turn around to know who it was. The atmosphere in the room became strange. Everyone understood Yao Zhiling's real meaning. My question was childish, and I should go home and study before speaking again. It was arrogance born of knowledge and status. My cheeks burned as I slowly sat down. Zhu Yong immediately leaned closer and whispered with malicious delight, "Wow, Jiang Yu, impressive. You even dared provoke the keynote speaker. How does it feel to get lectured like a grade school kid?" I ignored him, but he only became more excited. "You rented one nice car and started thinking you were somebody important. Did you even look at where you were? Now you know what humiliation feels like." The seminar ended, and the crowd began filing out. Zhu Yong deliberately spoke loudly with several coworkers. "Come on, everyone, we still have to catch the subway." We're not like certain people who rent a Porsche and parade around as if it's real. I said nothing, slowly gathered my belongings, and left the conference hall. In the main lobby, a crowd surrounded Yao Zhiling, everyone competing for one of her business cards. I did not even look at her. I walked straight toward the exit, but just as I was about to cross the threshold, a man in a suit hurried after me, panting, "Mr. Jiang, please wait." I stopped and turned. I had never seen him before. "Mr. Jiang." "Hello." Smiling broadly, he extended his hand. "I'm the person in charge of today's seminar. My surname is Li Wenbin. Please forgive us for any shortcomings in our hospitality." Everyone still in the lobby froze at the sight. Yao Zhiling, standing nearby, stopped as well and stared at me in surprise. This man was Li Wenbin, a vice president of Shanghai Technology Company. Why would he treat someone who looked ordinary with such deference? I did not understand it myself, but I remained calm. "Mr. Jiang, what did you think of today's seminar?" Li Wenbin asked. "If there is anything we should improve, please give us your guidance." His humble manner left everyone stunned. At the entrance, Zhiyong gaped at the scene, unable to believe his own eyes. Yao Zhiling's presentation was very informative. I said calmly, "I'm glad you found it worthwhile." Li Wenbin nodded repeatedly, then gestured ahead with extraordinary politeness. "Mr. Jiang, it's very hot outside. Allow me to escort you downstairs. The Porsche Cayenne at the entrance is yours, correct? I can go by myself." I couldn't possibly allow that. "I insist on seeing you out." Li Wenbin ushered me ahead of him as though he were escorting a person of enormous importance. I stopped refusing and left the hotel with him. At that moment, the entire lobby was unnaturally quiet. Everyone stared toward the entrance, their faces filled with questions. Yao Zhiling remained where she was. Her professional smile had disappeared, leaving only shock and confusion. Who was this man she had dismissed as an arrogant fool the night before, the same man she had just publicly humiliated? Who could make someone like Li Wenbin lower himself so completely? Outside the hotel, Li Wenbin personally opened the Porsche's door for me. "Mr. Jiang, there is a small business gathering tonight. May I ask whether you would honor us with your presence?" He handed me a card stamped with gold lettering. It contained only a name and a phone number. The event was a welcome banquet for Feng Rongjia, the daughter of the Feng family. I knew perfectly well that the company where I worked was also owned by the Feng family. "All right, I'll be there." I started the car and soon drove onto the main road. In the rearview mirror, I saw Yao Zhiling still standing outside the hotel, watching the black Porsche disappear with a face full of confusion. The gathering took place at a private estate outside the city. Only after I arrived did I realize this was no ordinary dinner. It looked more like a luxury auto show. Ferraris and Lamborghinis were everywhere, parked among them. My Cayenne seemed simple and ordinary. I had barely stepped out when a man in a white suit approached with Feng Rongjia. His name was Wang Hai, and the look he gave my car was as sharp as a knife. His first words dripped with malice. "You drove a Cayenne to this kind of event? Brother, did you come to the wrong place? The staff parking lot next door would suit you better." At such blatant rudeness, Feng Rongjia paused for only an instant and said nothing. I laughed instead. A car is only transportation. That excited Wang Hai even more. He tossed his Ferrari key into the air and caught it neatly. Even transportation has a hierarchy. Some people are born with the right to sit at the head table. Others probably don't even have the status to enter the door. "Wang Hai, don't say that," Feng Rongjia finally said, but her light tone contained no real rebuke. She only wanted to smooth over the moment. "I'm just joking with Brother Jiang." Wang Hai slipped the key back into his pocket, still looking down on me. "Brother Jiang won't mind, will you?" I raised my champagne and answered without restraint. "I'm not so insecure that someone else's ignorance can make me angry. If you're desperate to show off, it only proves you're stupid." The atmosphere at the party instantly became explosive. Wang Hai's face turned red with rage. "Fine, I'm stupid. Then let's all see what kind of car your intelligence can buy. Don't tell me this Cayenne is rented too." Everyone around us became interested, eager to watch the drama. At that moment, the system sounded inside my head. System notice. Boasting detected from host. Target locked. Pagani Huayra valued at 30 million rupees. Post tax due. 9.000 rupees. Confirm. 9,000 rupees for a supercar worth 30 million. It was an irresistible deal. Confirm, I said silently. The system deducted 9.000 rupees. The Pagani Huayra immediately entered the delivery process and was scheduled to arrive in 30 minutes. The system had prepared every legal document as well. Looking at Wang Hai's arrogant face, I slowly said one word: Pagani. The gathering went silent. Even Feng Rongjia looked surprised. Pagani? Wang Hai laughed so hard he doubled over. Brother, are you telling fairy tales now? Do you know how many of those exist in all of China? Even bragging has limits. I remained perfectly calm amid the laughter. I took out my phone and pretended to call a number no one answered. Traffic? That's fine. There's no rush. Drive carefully. Ignoring every taunt, I said coolly. Sorry. The roads are congested. It will arrive in 30 minutes. To everyone else, the next 30 minutes became a countdown to my public humiliation. People whispered to one another. Is he ordering a car from a parallel universe? He'll definitely find an excuse to run. Young Master Wang is going to skin him alive tonight. With every new taunt, Feng Rongxia's expression grew uglier. After all, the party was being held for her. At last, she came over and spoke quietly. Jiang Yu, Wang Hai was only joking. Let's stop here. I'll apologize for him. She was offering me a graceful way out, allowing me to take back my words. My response, however, made everyone stare. Thank you. I gently swirled my champagne. But I don't make jokes. Feng Rongjia froze, looking at me as though she could not understand why I still insisted on my claim. Very good. You've got nerve. Wang Hai applauded as he approached. Since you're so stubborn, let's make a bet. On what? He pointed to the ground, his expression vicious. You have 25 minutes left. If the car doesn't arrive, you'll kneel in front of everyone, admit you're a fraud, and crawl out of here. It was a vicious wager. He wanted to grind my dignity completely into the dirt. Everyone at the party grew excited as they waited for my answer. That bet isn't fair, I said. What's unfair about it? Wang Hai laughed. Trying to negotiate now? Ignoring his mockery, I looked at the Ferrari key in his hand. If I win, I get nothing. Let's do this instead. If the car arrives, your Ferrari belongs to me. Everyone was stunned. I was using a car that might not even exist to wager against the Ferrari Wang Hai truly owned. Laughing loudly, Wang Hai slapped his key on the table. Fine. I accept. If a Pagani really arrives, this car is yours. I pulled out my phone and recorded the full terms of our wager in front of everyone. Time passed 1 minute at a time, and the atmosphere grew increasingly strange. I drank my champagne at leisure while Wang Hai checked his watch again and again. 20 minutes left. Only 10 now. Wanna call your driver? Feng Rongjia had retreated to one side while the system continuously reported inside my mind. Pagani Huayra has entered the city. Vehicle has passed the checkpoint. 7 minutes remaining. Vehicle is undergoing security inspection. 3 minutes remaining. 1 final minute. Wang Hai already looked certain of victory. Everyone, get your phones ready. You won't want to miss Jiang Yu kneeling. The crowd closed around me. Wang Hai stopped directly in front of me. Time's up. Where's the car? I did not answer. I merely looked toward the estate's gate. Then, roar! A heavy engine note tore through the quiet night. Everyone turned at once. Between two brilliant headlights, a large enclosed transport truck slowly entered the estate. A striking letter P was printed on its side. The party instantly fell silent. The smile froze on Wang Hai's face. The truck stopped. Its hydraulic system rumbled, and the side door slowly opened. A work of art worth 30 million rupees, gleaming with blue carbon fiber. A Pagani Huayra finally appeared before everyone. The entire crowd held its breath. Every mocking word they had spoken came flying back like a slap across their own faces. 2 employees climbed down from the transporter, came to me, and bowed respectfully. Mr. Jiang, your vehicle has arrived. Please inspect and accept delivery. Wang Hai's legs went weak, and he collapsed onto the ground. Not a single person at the gathering could speak. The blue supercar stood there like a machine from the future that had wandered into the real world. I looked down at Wang Hai. His mouth hung open, but only strange sounds came from his throat. He wanted to scream that it was fake, that it was a scam. But the professional Pagani transporter and 2 uniformed employees had crushed his final thread of hope. This was the highest standard of vehicle delivery. One of the employees held out a box containing a carbon fiber key with both hands, as reverently as if presenting a king with his scepter. I calmly accepted it. That single motion ignited the entire party. My God, it really is a Pagani. The Huayra is 100 times more breathtaking in person than in magazines. Who is this man? He actually summoned a Pagani. The crowd's exclamations burst like floodwaters through a broken dam. Those who had mocked me most viciously were now red with shame and embarrassment, wishing the earth would swallow them. Then Wang Hai leaped up like a madman and pointed at me. I don't believe it. This is impossible. Who are you? How could you afford a Pagani? It must be rented. You staged all of this. He kept muttering as though he had grabbed the last rope that could save him. You hired 2 actors and rented a transport truck just to trick me. You want to steal my Ferrari? Dream on. But his voice grew weaker and weaker. He could not even convince himself. What rental company would provide such an exclusive, top-tier delivery service for a supercar worth tens of millions? Everyone looked at Wang Hai as if he were a clown. Refusing to honor the wager only made him more ridiculous and disgraceful. I couldn't even be bothered to look at him. I simply weighed the solid key box in my hand. Feng Rongjia came over. Shock and fear were plainly visible on her beautiful, aloof face. Her earlier pride was gone. Mr. Jiang. Her voice trembled slightly, judging from everyone's expressions. They were all wondering the same thing. Who exactly was I? How could a man who casually summoned a 30 million rupee supercar be ordinary? I gave them no answer. Instead, I did something that left every person speechless. I turned my wrist and handed the key box back to the employee who had just given it to me. He stared in surprise. Mr. Jiang. This is. I don't really want to drive it. I said as casually as if discussing my next meal. Your company offers rental management services, doesn't it? The employee paused, then nodded quickly. Yes, sir. We can fully maintain the vehicle and rent it on a short-term basis to qualified members. Good. Find suitable clients and rent it out. Deposit the income into my account. Contact me later about the remaining paperwork. The entire gathering fell into dead silence once again. If the Pagani's arrival had been a bomb, my words were a nuclear explosion. This was a Pagani Huayra, a supercar even billionaires dreamed of owning. Yet I had not opened its door or even sat inside it before sending it directly into a rental program. What kind of staggering wealth and what kind of casual indifference did that require? In my eyes, the 30 million rupee work of art seemed as ordinary as something found at the side of the road. My complete lack of concern for money shattered everything the crowd thought they understood. Wang Hai had completely broken down. His beloved Ferrari stood nearby. But after what had happened, it suddenly looked pitifully cheap. The employee bowed again. Of course, Mr. Jiang. We'll take care of it immediately. The transport truck restarted. The supercar that had just driven the entire gathering into a frenzy left the same way it had come, without its tires ever touching the estate's lawn. I never looked back. I walked straight to the table where we had made the bet, picked up the Ferrari key, and turned toward the parking area. I did not say another word to Wang Hai. Behind me, everyone stood frozen. Wang Hai's face was white as paper, while Feng Rongjia watched my retreating back without speaking. From her expression, the power I had just displayed had gone far beyond anything she had imagined. With the roar of its engine, I drove the Ferrari I had won out of the estate. I had barely passed the gate when my phone vibrated. Ding! Your Pagani Huayra has entered the rental program. Estimated daily rental income, 120.000 rupees. Earnings will be deposited directly into your account. I smiled at the message. This boast had been slightly bigger than the last one. The next could be bigger still. The following day, I kept one hand on the Cayenne's steering wheel while checking the Pagani's prepaid rental income with the other. The money had arrived, yet I felt no great excitement. The requirement of 10 million rupees in assets still weighed on me like a stone. The LV1 daily tax ceiling of 10.000 rupees was far too low and severely limited how quickly I could build wealth. I had to level up as soon as possible. Just then, another unknown number called. When I answered, a young woman's sweet, clear voice came over the line. Hello, Mr. Jiang. My name is Li, and I'm a property consultant at number 1 residence. I'd like to invite you to view our most expensive penthouse, which includes a private garden. Another sales call. I was about to hang up when her next sentence stopped my hand. This is our most exclusive development. All our residents are distinguished, wealthy individuals, perfectly suited to someone of your status. I changed my mind. How much is the most expensive unit? The line went quiet for a moment. She apparently had not expected me to ask so directly. Then she deliberately emphasized the figure. Mr. Jiang, that penthouse costs 20 million rupees. If you pay in full, you may qualify for a discount. Oh, 20 million. I sounded as though I were asking the price of vegetables at an open-air market. She must have decided that I was only showing off, because her voice gradually cooled. Yes, 20 million rupees before any discount. I've already purchased it in full, I said calmly. Silence filled the call. Several seconds later, she gave a contemptuous laugh. Sir, even boasting should have limits. That penthouse was only released yesterday, and not one unit has been sold. Is that so? I turned the steering wheel and entered the main road. Perhaps your system hasn't updated yet. Check again and see whose name is listed as the owner. She lost all patience. Sir, if you are genuinely interested, we can discuss a smaller apartment. If you are only amusing yourself, then I'm sorry, but my time is extremely valuable. Without giving me a chance to respond, she hung up. I looked at the darkened screen and smiled instead of becoming angry. Ding! New boast detected. The host claims to have purchased the penthouse at number 1 residence. Target value, 20 million rupees. Boast tax due, 6.000 rupees. Confirm? Confirm. Ding! Payment successful. Relevant ownership documents are being delivered to the host's location. It was done just like that, even faster than placing an online order. Less than 5 minutes later, my phone rang again. It was still an unfamiliar number, but this time it was a local landline. When I answered, a nervous and respectful male voice greeted me. Am I speaking with Mr. Jiang? I'm Wang Defa, the general manager of number 1 residence. His voice was almost trembling. Congratulations, sir. You have become the most distinguished owner in our development. I called the moment our system records updated. His attitude could not have been more different from the property consultants. Mr. Jiang, we would like to arrange a grand handover ceremony for you. When would be convenient? That won't be necessary, I said while watching the world outside my car. I don't plan to live there. You offer property management and rental services, don't you? Rent it out for me. Rent it out? The manager was stunned, but recovered quickly. No problem, sir. Leave it to me. I will find the most suitable tenant for you. When the call ended, I felt extremely pleased. I now owned another asset worth 20 million rupees, placing me one step closer to leveling up. Then a thought suddenly occurred to me. What if I sold the houses and cars the system created for me? Wouldn't I immediately receive a huge amount of cash? The instant the idea appeared, the blue panel materialized on its own. The host is attempting to dispose of system-manifested assets. Supplemental rules follow. 1. Real estate, vehicles, and other high-value assets manifested at LV1 are subject to a 90-day protection period. They may not be sold, mortgaged, or gifted during this period. 2. The 10 million rupees required for a system upgrade refers to freely disposable net assets earned by the host through wages, business activity, investment, leasing, and similar means. Assets directly manifested by the system do not count toward upgrade progress. However, legal, taxed income generated by those assets will count. 3. Once the protection period ends, the host may freely dispose of the relevant assets, but sale proceeds will not be counted toward upgrade progress a second time. I stared at the lines, the corner of my mouth twitching. Of course, there could not be such an obvious loophole. The system could turn my boasts into reality, but it would not let me behave like a prize reseller, instantly cashing out everything I had just received. If I wanted to level up, I would have to make these assets genuinely productive. Still, I wasn't disappointed. The Pagani alone could earn 120.000 rupees a day in rent. The penthouse could be leased as well, along with the Ocean Bay apartment. If I managed everything properly, 10 million was not far away. The problem was that I could not keep my job while personally managing the houses and vehicles. With that thought, I immediately called Lin Mingkai. Half an hour later, we met at a coffee shop. Lin Mingkai looked as if he had not slept all night. His face was covered in stubble, and his eyes were bloodshot. He placed a stack of freshly printed resumes on the table and forced a smile. I've applied to more than 20 companies today. Don't worry, I'm not finished yet. I pushed a folder toward him. Stop applying. Come work for me. Doing what? Managing houses and cars. Lin Mingkai opened the folder. First he saw the ownership documents for Ocean Bay and number 1 residence, followed by the vehicle information for the Kian, Ferrari, and Pagani. As he turned the pages, his expression shifted from confusion to shock. At last, he snapped his head up and stared at me. These are all yours? Yes. When did you become a billionaire? Yesterday. Lin Mingkai stared as if trying to decide whether I had gone insane or the world had. I did not explain the system. I simply continued. I'm going to establish a high-end asset management company. You'll be the general manager. I'll provide 370,000 rupees in startup capital. And the company will operate all my existing properties and vehicles. You'll receive 20% of the operating profits. This isn't a loan. And it isn't charity. Lin Mingkai's eyes immediately turned red. Aren't you afraid I'll lose all your money? I am. I lifted my coffee and took a sip. That's why the contract includes performance requirements. If you can't make the business work in 3 months, I'll throw you out. He froze for several seconds, then smiled. He knew I was deliberately being harsh to preserve the last of his pride. He extended his hand. All right, if the company isn't profitable in 3 months, you won't have to throw me out. I'll leave on my own. We shook hands firmly. That very day, Qingyu High-End Asset Management Company Limited was officially registered. Lin Mingkai became a different man. He had once worked in a hotel's membership department and understood the needs of high-net-worth clients extremely well. In only 1 week, he established partnerships with 3 private clubs, found long-term member clients for the Pagani, and marketed the #1 residence penthouse as an elite corporate hospitality property, leasing it to a multinational fund for 1.5 million rupees a year. Even the Ferrari Wang Hai had lost to me was transferred into my name quickly. Wang Hai had initially wanted to break his word, but videos from the gathering had already spread throughout Jiangqing's wealthy second-generation circles. His father, afraid that the Wang family would become a complete laughingstock, personally dragged him to the vehicle registration office to sign the papers. When he left, Wang Hai's face was livid, and he did not dare say a word. The Ferrari joined the rental business as well. When the first payment arrived, Lin Mingkai stared at the company's banking portal for a long time before sending me a message. Brother, I feel as if I've come back to life. I replied with only 4 words. This is just beginning. Meanwhile, Jiyong became increasingly restless at work. He had insisted my Cayenne was rented, only to hear later that I had one Wang Hai's Ferrari at Feng Rongqia's welcome party. The rumors became more outrageous by the day. Some people claimed I was the concealed heir to an elite family. Others said I controlled a massive family fund. Jiyong no longer dared humiliate me to my face. Instead, he dumped every dirty, exhausting assignment on me and deliberately gave me the lowest possible score in my project review. I did not argue, because I had already decided to leave. 1 month later, our company entered the bidding for Lingyun Technology's 300 million rupee cloud services project. To win the contract, everyone in the department worked overtime for 2 straight weeks. Yet I alone created nearly the entire proposal framework, cost model, and risk plan. The day before submission, Jiyong called me into his office. Send me the core files. I'll perform the final consolidation. I looked at him. My name is on those files. He sneered. You're a member of the project team. Anything you produce belongs to the company. What happened? You drove 2 nice cars and forgot the rules? I said nothing and sent him the files. At the department presentation the next day, the proposal I had created appeared on the screen, but only one name remained in the author field. Jiyong, our boss, Chen Guoqiang, praised him in front of everyone. This is a highly mature proposal. Jiyong, you haven't disappointed me. Standing at the front, Jiyong feigned modesty. I led the team through many all-night work sessions to produce it. I revised the core cost model more than a dozen times. From my seat in the corner, I smiled. That model contained a fatal assumption only I knew about. It required first-tier node authorization from Shanghai Data Center. Without it, every cost calculation was worthless. The night before, while reviewing Lingyun Technology's public tender documents, I had casually said something to Lin Mingkai. Shanghai Data Center has always belonged to me. The system had immediately responded. Target exceeds LV1 realization range. Host may resubmit after upgrading to LV2. I had not paid the tax, but I remembered those words. After praising Jiyong, Chen Guoqiang suddenly turned his attention to me. Jiang Yu, you've been undisciplined lately, and your abilities have shown no clear improvement. After this project concludes, report to the logistics department. Your salary will be reduced by 30%. The conference room went silent. Everyone knew this was the same as forcing me to resign. A victor's smile hung on Jiyong's lips. He had plainly planned everything with Chen Guoqiang in advance. He stole my proposal, then kicked me out of the project team. From then on, the project would have nothing to do with me. I closed my laptop and asked calmly, "Are you finished?" Chen Guoqiang frowned. "What kind of attitude is that? If you're finished, I have an announcement." I placed the resignation letter I had already prepared on the table. "Effective now. I quit." Zhu Yong froze, then laughed. "Why pretend to be so carefree? You think anyone outside this company will hire you? You don't need to worry about that." I rose and walked to the door, then glanced back at the proposal on the large screen. One more thing. A reminder. Stolen goods aren't always usable. With that, I left the conference room under everyone's gaze. That evening, Lin Mingkai brought me the newest financial report. Between the advance on the Pagani's long-term lease, the full year's rent for the penthouse, the Ferrari's membership rental income, the Ocean Bay rent, and the profits in the company account, my freely disposable net assets had finally surpassed 10 million rupees. The blue panel burst open before my eyes. "Congratulations. Post. Upgrade requirements satisfied. Post tax system upgraded to LV2. Daily tax limit increased to 100.000 rupees. New target types unlocked. Corporate equity, intellectual property, commercial operating rights, and other verifiable intangible assets. Protection periods on assets manifested during LV1 have ended early. Post now possesses full disposal rights." I studied the final line and slowly leaned back in my chair. After waiting so long, the real game was finally beginning. 3 days later, Lingyun Technology held the final bid review. The 7 most powerful companies in Jiangcheng were present. Chen Guoqiang and Zhu Yong sat in the front row with guest badges pinned to their chests, looking certain of victory. At the center of Lingyun Technology's delegation sat someone I knew very well, Yao Zhiling. Only then did I learn that she was not merely the keynote speaker from the seminar. She was Lingyun Technology's newly appointed executive president and the final decision-maker for the 300 million rupee project. When she saw me enter, surprise flashed through her eyes. Zhu Yong, however, leaped to his feet. "Security. This man has left our company. He has no right to attend the final review." Chen Guoqiang's face darkened as well. "Jiang Yu, stop causing trouble. This isn't a place where you can behave however you please." I ignored them and walked directly to the last empty seat. The nameplate on the table read, "Shanghai Data Center." Every whisper in the room abruptly stopped. The smile froze on Zhu Yong's face. "You've taken the wrong seat, haven't you?" I placed an authorization document on the table. "No. As of 9 o'clock this morning, 51% of Shanghai Data Center's shares and all operating rights to its first-tier nodes belong to me." 3 days earlier, after the system completed its upgrade, I had repeated the same statement. "Shanghai Data Center has always belonged to me." The system assessed a tax of 96.000 rupees. I confirmed payment. Now the ownership transfer for Jiangcheng's largest data center was complete. Every document was legal, comprehensive, and able to withstand any examination. The head of legal beside Yao Zhiling finished checking the papers and spoke quietly. "President Yao, the documents are genuine. The corporate registry and authorization systems have both been updated." The way Yao Zhiling looked at me changed completely. Shanghai Data Center controlled the first-tier computing nodes Lingyun Technology's new product needed most. Whoever controlled Shanghai held the true lifeline of the entire project. In the proposal Zhu Yong stole relied on discounted authorization from Shanghai Data Center as a guaranteed condition. Yao Zhiling opened the bid and spoke coldly. "Team Leader Zhu, your proposal promises 5 years of preferential authorization for Shanghai's first-tier nodes. Where is the authorization letter?" Cold sweat instantly appeared on his forehead. "The authorization letter is still going through the process." "Without authorization? On what grounds did you include that price in a formal bid?" "Well..." Zhu Yong looked helplessly at Chen Guoqiang. Chen Guoqiang rushed to his feet. "President Yao, we have always maintained a good relationship with Shanghai. Jiang used to work for our company as well. There may be some misunderstanding here." "There is no misunderstanding," I interrupted. "I refuse to authorize it." Those 4 words drained the color from both men's faces. Yao Zhiling closed the proposal. "You submitted false cost commitments to us on the assumption that you could obtain a core resource you do not control. Your company is disqualified from this tender. President Yao, please give us another chance." Chen Guoqiang's voice changed with panic. "There is nothing wrong with the proposal's core concept." I laughed. "Of course there isn't. The core concept is mine too." I opened my computer and displayed the original documents, cloud revision history, and sent emails. Every page carried a precise creation time. 12 full days earlier than Zhu Yang's supposedly original proposal. The room erupted. Lingyun Technology's legal director immediately preserved the evidence. This appears to involve misappropriation of commercial work product, falsified project records, and fraudulent bidding. We will issue a formal notice. Yao Zhiling's voice contained no warmth. Mr. Chen, take your people and leave. Chen Guoqiang's knees buckled, and he nearly fell back into his chair. Jiang panicked completely. He rushed over to me and lowered his voice. Jiang Yu, we were co-workers. There's no need to go this far. We'll give the proposal back to you, and I can split the project bonus with you. Co-workers? I looked at him as if I had heard the funniest joke in the world. When you made me sit in the back seat, why didn't you remember we were co-workers? When you stole my work and tried to force me into the logistics department, why didn't you think about leaving yourself a way out? His lips trembled continuously. Don't you love talking about status? I pointed toward the door. Your status now is project leader for a disqualified bidder. Please leave. Security came forward and escorted both men out. That afternoon, the company's headquarters sent an audit team. Evidence emerged that Zhu Yong had falsified travel expenses, accepted supplier kickbacks, and embezzled project bonuses over the previous 3 years. Chen Guoqiang had repeatedly altered performance records to protect him and was also dismissed. Zhu Yong not only lost his job but faced a criminal investigation. The BMW he had treated as a symbol of status was repossessed by the bank after his finances collapsed. He had always loved humiliating others for being poor. In the end, he turned himself into the greatest joke of all. After the final review, Yao Zhiling asked me to stay behind. Only the two of us remained in the office. After a moment of silence, she lowered her intimidating guard for the first time. After the seminar, I reviewed your question again. She said, our previous pricing model really did overlook what small and medium-sized businesses could afford. Your wording wasn't very technical, but your direction wasn't wrong. Is that an apology? I asked. Half of one. What's the other half? Yao Zhiling looked at me. For once, the tips of her ears turned slightly red. The other half is that I shouldn't have embarrassed you in front of so many people. I nodded. Accepted. You certainly don't stand on ceremony. I owe you an apology too. I paused. That plate at the barbecue restaurant was a little excessive. Her face instantly cooled. Not just a little. Then let me buy you dinner to apologize. No barbecue. Deal. It was the first conversation we had ever ended without attacking each other. Lingyun Technology ultimately awarded the project to none of the bidders. Instead, it formed a joint operating platform with Shanghai Data Center. As Shanghai's controlling shareholder, I joined the board. Yao Zhiling took charge of technology and products, while I handled resource integration and commercial operations. She later told me that she soon discovered I was not merely a nouveau riche who knew how to flaunt money. When I did not understand something, I admitted it directly, yet I could always seize the heart of a problem from the most practical angle. I was willing to make bold bets, but I never pushed the real risk onto other people. More importantly, I had written Lin Mingkai's 20% share of Xingyu's operating profits into a contract and paid him every cent. 6 months later, the joint platform launched a low-cost service plan for small and medium-sized businesses and signed more than 3,000 clients. My real net worth multiplied several times over, and the system smoothly upgraded to LV3. Lin Mingkai used his profit share to buy his first home. On the day of the handover, Xiaoya and her mother somehow learned the news and waited outside the sales office. With red eyes, Xiaoya said, Mingkai, my family pressured me back then. Can we start over? Her mother, no longer displaying her former cruelty, smiled ingratiatingly. We're all one family. Let's not hold on to the past. Lin Mingkai looked at them quietly, then put the ownership certificate into his bag. Auntie was right. Youth can't wait. He smiled. That's why I won't waste any more of mine on people who look down on me. He turned and walked away without looking back. That evening, he bought me a drink. We went to the same old barbecue restaurant and sat at the same table. But he no longer blamed himself for everything that had happened. Jiang Yu, thank you. For what? You didn't simply shove 638.000 rupees into my hands. You gave me the chance to find myself again. I touched my glass to his. Money can solve a temporary crisis, but it can't buy back a man's backbone. You stood up because you never truly stayed down. Lin Mingkai drained his beer and laughed. 1 year later, The joint platform created by Shanghai and Lingyun Technology went public overseas. After the opening bell ceremony, Yao Zhiling skipped the celebration banquet and dragged me back to that old barbecue restaurant. She was still dressed in an expensive formal gown that looked completely out of place in the smoky room, yet she sat across from me without the slightest concern. "What do you want to eat today?" I asked, handing her the menu. "Anything." She looked at me. "Except the dish you bought me the first time." I burst out laughing. Over the past year, we had gone from disliking each other to standing side by side through crisis after crisis. She had seen me mobilize resources overnight that other people could scarcely imagine. She had also seen me argue with shareholders until late at night over a compensation plan for a single ordinary employee. And I finally understood that her initial coldness had not come from worshipping wealth or despising poverty. She had simply met too many people who treated money like an all-access pass. So she instinctively detested every man who tried to put a price tag on himself. After dinner, I took her to the river. Lights in the distance shimmered across the water. I removed a ring box from my pocket and lowered myself onto one knee. Yao Zhiling froze. "I've made many boasts," I said, looking up at her. "Some became houses. Some became cars. One even became a company. But today, I don't want to pay tax on my words. And I don't want the system to make them real for me. I want to do that myself. To make you the happiest woman in the world." I opened the box. "Yao Zhiling, marry me." Her eyes slowly filled with tears. But she deliberately asked, "Are you sure this isn't another boast?" I smiled. "Give me a lifetime to prove it." She extended her hand. "All right." The instant I slipped the ring onto her finger, the familiar mechanical voice sounded inside my head. "Potential boast detected from host. Target cannot be assigned a monetary value. No tax will be assessed. Good luck, host." For the first time, I thought the cold system might not be so irritating after all. Several months later, our wedding took place in the private garden at number 1 residence. Lin Mingkai served as my best man. Feng Rongjia brought a gift on behalf of the Feng family. Even Li Wenbin, who had respectfully escorted me from the seminar, sat among the guests. As for Zhu Yong, he was eventually sentenced to prison for embezzlement and commercial fraud. Wang Hai lost his management position in the family company and was sent abroad to start over at the bottom. Those who had once mocked me could only watch through their screens as a man they had never truly understood climbed, step by step, to the very top. After the wedding, Yao Zhiling and I stood on the garden terrace overlooking Jiangqing's brilliant night skyline. The blue panel appeared once again. Host's current level, LV3. New asset targets must be completed before the next upgrade. Yao Zhiling noticed my brief distraction and gently took my hand. "What are you thinking about?" I closed the panel and intertwined my fingers with hers. "I was thinking that Jiangqing still seems a little too small." She raised an eyebrow. "Planning another boast?" I gazed toward the distant lights, and the corner of my mouth slowly lifted. "No, this time, I plan to make it real myself. Our story was only just beginning."